Okay, so we will continue discussing the fourth section, section D. So last week when we met, we talked about the three doers. Whenever any activity is performed, the verses 13 to 16, there are three doers we discussed. One is the jiva, the soul, material nature, and the super soul. Right? Three doers. What does the soul's role? What is the soul? Any activity you perform, what is the role of the soul? Anybody wants to answer? You can unmute yourself and answer. There are three you do. If you perform an activity, say you're reading book, or you're painting your home, something, there are three doers. One is the soul, the other is Paramatma, and the material nature. So what is the role of the soul? What does the soul do in this? Any activity. You cook, for example, you are cooking. So what is the role of the soul? Anybody wants to answer? Please unmute yourself and answer.
Desires to do something.
Yeah, so the desire is the only thing that the soul does. And then what happens? After the soul desires, what is the next thing?
Super soul, Paramatma should sanction it.
Yes, Paramatma sanctions it. If Paramatma doesn't sanction, the activity doesn't happen, right?
Correct.
Yeah. If suppose Paramatma sanctions, then Paramatma, what does he do? He orders the material nature. For example, you are cooking. Cooking means you are using hands. The soul within you, within your body, decide to cook. And then this body, you think it is your body, but it is in your control, but it is not your body. It is actually God's property. Everything in existence is the property of God, including your own body, your children's body, everybody's. So the Paramatma sanctions the body to actually perform the activity, and so the body acts. Right? So the three doers are the soul, the desirer, super soul, the sanctioner, and material nature, the executor. The executive, the worker role is performed by the material nature. Material nature is all the material elements and the three modes of material nature, all of that together is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Right? So, so that is material nature, that actually is the executive agency. Yeah, so this we discussed already up to verse 15. Let's read verse 16. Jnanena tutad ajnanam yesham nashitam atmanaha tesham adityavaj jnanam prakasayanti tatparam. Please, one of you read. Okay, let's start with Sagar Prabhu. Please read.
When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which his science is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime.
For the one who is ignorant of the three doers, or in general about the soul's existence, or God's existence, it's like darkness. In the dark night, if there is no light at all, what can you see? Nothing. You're just blinded by the darkness. You can't see anything. But as soon as this knowledge arises in the heart, right, now you are only theoretically knowing, but when you actually practice meditation, like we did in the beginning, chanting of Hare Krishna mantra, so as you practice yoga like that over a period of time, you start realizing, in truth, you actually accept these things as a fact, as a matter of fact. Right now it is a theoretical idea. Sometimes you may still doubt whether God really exists and all. But for the self-realized soul, as he advances spiritually and as his heart gets purified, the nescience is destroyed, as mentioned here. Yeah? Nescience means darkness. The ignorance that is born out of darkness, lack of knowledge, that is destroyed. That becomes reality. You start feeling you are actually not this body. Right? You can actually feel that, and you can relate with others in that same spirit. Now, when that, when the knowledge becomes, very well established, it's like sunlight. As soon as sunlight comes in the morning, everything that was dark until then, completely dissipates. The darkness dissipates, and you can see everything very clearly, right? So as one purifies himself, as one purifies his mind and one advances spiritually, so such a person also, for him there is no surprise. Sometimes people get shocked. Oh, how can that happen? There is no shock for such a person, because he sees everything is in a perfect harmony with the order of the God, with the plan of God. That's how he sees. Because if God is all loving, right, and you are a child of God, why would anything that happens in your life can be, uh, not for your good? He can clearly see that. He doesn't. It's not a mental adjustment for such a person. Some people try. We theoretically try to adjust ourselves with the knowledge that we know, but this is not that kind of thing. This is actually a realization. So he can clearly see that everything is in a perfect harmony. So that is how knowledge, Gita wisdom transforms one. Right? Let's read the verses of this section. So this next section, I'll show you this. So this is the overall summary of the three doers. The soul desires, Lord does not interfere at all in the desires of the soul. Right? Lord as super soul sanctions those desires that the soul deserves. Right? Only those that are deserved will be sanctioned. If your karma does not permit, it won't happen. Right? Modes of material nature carry out the actions to fulfill these desires. Those desires, body and actions are choreographed by the modes. So this very much establishes that, Jiva is not the doer, the soul is not the doer. Then who is responsible? If suppose, somebody kills somebody, or causes pain to other person or other living entities, who is responsible for it? Still the Jiva is responsible, but because he is the one who desired. Material nature is not responsible because it is only happening according to your own desire. Neither Lord is responsible because it is Lord would not interfere in soul's independent desires. Okay, he will act as a a judge. That's all. He will not interfere in individuals' desires. Of course, his voice is always there within you, but the voice of the mind, propelled by the desires, dominates that. But one who is in the mode of goodness, practices spiritual life, as soon as he makes a mistake, God within immediately, there is a voice of the super soul that forbids those actions. But one has to be in a state of goodness to actually receive that signal. But most people are driven by their own material desires, and so they cannot really tune themselves to the voice of the super soul. So in most cases, Lord acts as a neutral. He does not interfere in soul's desires, soul's actions. So that's how it works out. So, so benefits of understanding the position of the Supreme, it leads to the state of perfect knowledge. When one surrenders unto the Lord, happiness and real peace is achieved. Yeah, so this section, 17 to 26. So there are two subsections within this. this is actually the vision of this liberated soul. How a liberated soul sees the world. Okay, fixing his consciousness on the Lord, the learned says equally views the Brahmana and the elephant, happiness and distress. He does not, he does not see at the bodily level whether somebody is in a low caste or a high caste, rich or poor, animal body or a human body, happiness, situation of happiness or a distress. He does not really get bothered by the bodily differences. He just sees that everybody has a spirit soul. So he, in that way, his consciousness is always fixed. Okay, he enjoys unlimitedly because his consciousness is fixed on the Supreme. He's always in touch with Supreme, right? For example, as soon as our tongue touches, say, a nice sweet like gulab jamun, we feel happiness, right? Because the our body is attuned to that sweetness, and it enjoys that sweetness. So if we are so happy with being in touch with some material object itself, right, how much more happiness can be derived by one who is in touch with the Supreme, right? So yoga literally means the soul connecting with the super soul. So when one constantly in touch with Lord, one easiest way is to chant the names of the Lord continuously. When you are doing that, what is happening is you are in touch with the Lord, the supreme energy, the super consciousness. So as you, right now we may not taste it because, for example, if your tongue has, you have a layer of plastic on your tongue, for example, I'm just giving an example, and I give you a nice gulab jamun, will you be able to taste? You can't. What is it? Where is the problem? It's not in the gulab jamun. It is, the problem is on the tongue, right? Tongue cannot taste because there is a layer of covering that is blocking the taste of gulab jamun, correct? So similarly, because of our impurities, right now when we chant the holy name, we cannot taste the holy name. But otherwise, when we are completely purified, our mind is completely purified, and our desires are completely purified, when we chant itself, we derive unlimited happiness. That's not happening right now. That clearly shows that there is still a lot of cleansing that needs to be done. Just like tongue needs cleansing every single day, our mind needs cleansing every single day. And chanting is the process we follow for that. So he enjoys unlimitedly because his consciousness is fixed on the Supreme. Knowing material pleasure as temporary, he does not delight in them. Right? So he clearly sees for such a yogi, a great yogi, what is the taste of a gulab jamun, right? He already tasted the Supreme himself. He got in touch with the Supreme. How can such a person take any pleasure in ordinary material things of this world, right? So it doesn't even appeal to such a person. Because, for example, when we are children, we are playing with toys. But will you play with the same toys when you are, say, 20 years old? We don't, because our tastes have risen, our knowledge has broadened. So we play with different things. When we are 20 years old, we may like to play hockey or tennis or something. We don't play with the small toys because we have outgrown that. So similarly, a person whose consciousness touches the Supreme, right? So such a person enjoys unlimitedly, and for him, he doesn't really, derive so much pleasure in the temporary material things of this world. Right? So let's quickly read that section 17 to 23. Tad buddhayastadaatmanas tannishtastat parayana gachanti apunar avrittim Jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. Yeah, please. Anil Prabhu, can you read?
Yeah, Prabhu. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuse are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgiving through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation.
So this is talking about a person who is fixed up in his practice of yoga. So his intelligence, right now our intelligence is directed in so many directions. Right? Intelligence means the ability to decide decisively what to do and all. But if suppose somebody's intelligence is fixed in Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, he sees everything with that purview, right? So when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuse are all fixed in Supreme, means he does not take refuge in other things. For example, one may take refuge in uh, playing sports or watching television. Refuge means when you are stressed out, where do you go, right? When you are going through tough times, what is your shelter? That is your refuge. Some people in the world, what do? They go to a bar and drink wine and try to forget things. So that is a refuge for them. That is the shelter for them. Uh, but for a person whose mind and intelligence and faith, strong faith in God, right, or in Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings. He is not worried about anything of this world, right? Through complete knowledge. What is that knowledge? That he is a soul, God is the supreme soul, and he is a child of God. And for him, the real pleasure is in connecting with God. So when one realizes that, right, such a person proceeds straight on the path of liberation. Meaning, such a person's progress is going to be continuous. It's not going to be, it's not hindered. It's a continuous work. So faith is another important thing, right? Because in this world, we can't live without faith, right? When we get on a bus, there is faith that the bus will go to the right destination. We don't doubt when we ride an aeroplane or a bus that it may crash or it will, but it can happen. But still, so faith is an important aspect. We believe in so many things. When you go to a hotel and you start eating, you don't doubt if the food has poison or not, right? If we are doubtful in everything, we can't progress in life at all, right? We do so many things on faith, on trust, on faith. So similarly, it takes a leap of faith to actually accept God's existence in truth. And especially when mind and intelligence is driven by material desires, that faith is very difficult to form. But when one forms that faith, and that actually comes through actually the process of yoga, especially in this case, chanting. As you chant, your faith develops in God. So with focus, you have to chant. So as one's faith develops, all these things will happen, right? So his shelter becomes God. When difficulties come, many people actually sometimes go away from God. They think, why is God not helping me in this situation, and go away. So, but actually a very spiritually minded person becomes more fixed up in those times. He takes that as an opportunity, the difficulties as an opportunities to actually connect with God, right? Because just like, for example, when Draupadi was being disrobed, what did she do? She tried to protect herself in the first, as a first reaction. And next, she tried to call out for her husbands. I mean, they could not do anything because they were already defeated and in the gambling match. and they're already slaves of Duryodhana at the time. So they could not go without the order of Duryodhana to actually protect her, even though they are, five of the most world's powerful warriors, but they could not do anything when Draupadi is being destroyed. Only Krishna has to come, and finally she surrendered completely. She did not even try to protect her sari by her own efforts. She just raised her hands, and immediately Lord Krishna came and gave Draupadi the refuge that she needed at the time, right? So similarly, when we are challenged in life, when our faith is fixed up in God, that is a sign of advancement in spiritual life, and that kind of thing will propel us. So then all the difficulties, all the challenges, all the tough situations that you go through in life, they become like stepping stones for you on the path of liberation, because you take with them with the right spirit. You accept that as a good opportunity for you to connect with God. So and those hurdles or difficulties become your stepping stones so that you can advance spiritually. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. This is the version of Vedic literature, of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. So we already discussed this. God can be realized in three aspects. One is Brahman realization, second is Paramatma realization, and thirdly, and the highest, is Bhagavan realization. So the simplest example to understand is, it's like sunshine, sun disk, and sun planet, right? You can see the sunshine and say, this is sun, right? You can just see outside your window and say, this is sun. Here exists sun, just by the light of it, right? You don't need to go out and see. You just can perceive the sun's presence just by its light. So Brahman realization is like that. Brahman is like the effulgence of the absolute truth. Now, that knowledge is good, but that is not the complete knowledge. You can go out your door and actually look at the sun himself, right? And you find that, hey, where is the light coming from? The light is coming from that source that is in the sky, right? You see the sun disk. So the sun disk is like the Paramatma, right? Paramatma relation is like this, realizing that, hey, that is the source of all the light. That is the source of all the heat. When you acknowledge, that is like Paramatma realization. And then highest is understanding that actually sun himself is a planet. And on the sun planet, actually there are a lot of living entities. One may think, how can there be so much living entities when there is such a heat? Our body is fit for this planet, but there are living entities that are fit to live in sun planet. And the sun planet is ruled by Vivaswan, sun god Vivaswan. So one who understands, actually sun is a planet and there are living entities there, and there is a king there who is the ruler of sun planet. So that is like Bhagavan realization. That's like complete understanding, right? Now, accepting light and heat is one level of understanding. That is also an understanding of sun. Accepting the source of that sunlight is the next level of understanding, which is like the Paramatma relation. Paramatma relation means one understands, hey, in all living entities, there is this Paramatma that is the actual driver of everything. Right? In your body there is Paramatma, in my body there is Paramatma, in everybody, in all living entities, in every tree and every animal there is Paramatma, acknowledging that he is the source of everything. And he is the one driving the body. He is the one, the constant friend of the jiva. As long as he is in the material world, he is always accompanying him. Right? He is the best friend. Krishna later on in the future chapter says, Suhridam sarvabhutanam yapamam santi mrichate. One, Suhridam, he is in the heart of everybody, and he is the Suhridam, means the best friend of every living entity. So that is Paramatma relation. Not just that, that is one aspect of God, right? Brahman is one aspect of God, Paramatma. So the same Supreme Lord, he expands into each of us as Paramatma, right? Just like one sun, if you have 100 parts of water on the ground, one sun reflects in every part of water, right? You can see the sun's reflection in each part of water. And he looks as good as the sun in the sky. So similarly, the same Supreme Lord that exists in the spiritual world, he is also accompanying each of us in the form of Paramatma, right? Just like the reflection of the light in the pot. So the same Lord exists within each of us because we need his help to actually to function in this material world. So Paramatma, he expands, the Lord expands as Paramatma so that he accompanies in our journey in the material existence, right? And he also, his effulgence is Brahmajyoti. So one who realizes Brahman is also self-realized, but that is, the level of realization is Brahman realization. A yogi, a jnani realizes Brahman, one who tries to differentiate what is temporary, what is permanent. So in that way, he finally realizes Brahman. One who meditates, one who accepts Bhagavan, and one who meditates on the Lord, sitting down on the form of the Lord, he realizes Paramatma. Right? Paramatma, the super soul that exists within all the living entities, he realizes that. And one who actually accepts the Bhagavan form, that is the highest realization. Like we accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, or you can also accept Rama or Narsingha, Vamana, any of these Vishnu Tattvas as the Supreme Lord. So that is called Bhagavan realization, the highest of all realizations. Okay, this we already discussed. I'm just reviewing that. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuse are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity, and individuality in Krishna, and equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Yeah, this is a very famous verse. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chaiva Swapake Cha Pandita Samadarshina. Yeah. Archana Mataji, can you read?
Yes, Prabhuji. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, that is outcast.
Okay. So here it is talking about, here you see it says here, he sees the soul in every living entity. So he's seeing in the elephant, he's seeing Vishnu, that is Paramatma, right? In every living entity we discussed, there is Paramatma. The person who is driving this elephant, he sees Paramatma in him. Or the king who is riding on the elephant, he's seeing him also, as the soul, right? He sees the animals and Brahmana, everybody he sees with the same equal vision. In the mundane vision, without any spiritual knowledge, people treat different people differently. Oh, he's a rich person, he's a poor person, he doesn't have anything. I don't get any benefit by getting in touch with him. So like that, material vision is like that. Means we see differences between different people. Right? One looks down based on caste or you know caste or financial status or relationship. He's from my country and he's from different country. So all these differences exist in mundane vision. When one is not spiritually enlightened, he would see with mundane vision. So such a person always goes through dualities of life, distress and joy, mostly distress only, because he is mentally agitated most of the time because of his mundane vision. But for a Brahmana, a Brahmana means actually a person who is in true knowledge. Brahmana is not a person who is born in a Brahmana caste. All of us can be Brahmanas when we develop real spiritual vision. That is the word Brahman. One who realizes Brahman is one Brahman. Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. One who is a Brahmana? A Brahmana is a person who understands who is Brahman. Means what is absolute truth. One who understands that means who is God, who am I, what's my relationship, why I'm in this world, what is the purpose of life. One who understands all these aspects of life, such a person is a true Brahmana. All of us can be a Brahmana. It doesn't matter whether you are a low caste person or a high caste person. It doesn't matter. It's not based on caste at all. It's not based on, just like it's about the right understanding, right knowledge, and right vision. Right? So that is the actual Vedic teaching. Unfortunately, in the current interpretation of the, it's completely gone off. So that's why we think, oh, Hindu religion has all these castes, and so I don't like Hindu religion. People say all of that because they don't have any knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So the basis of equal vision is what? He sees that in every living entity there is Paramatma. The Paramatma is the main. There is Atma. Atma is the secondary thing. But he sees Paramatma. It means the God's presence in the body. When you see God's presence in the body, you accept that body as what? Any idea? Any word want to say? You see God in something. Then what does that body represent for you?
Temple.
Yes, temple. Because in temple we worship God, right? That is the place of God. So every body is a residence of God in the form of Paramatma, right? So a person who is very advanced spiritually, he can see with spiritual vision like that. He sees, he does not hurt anybody, right? If something bad happens to him, he accepts the other person or other thing as just an instrument. He does not become upset with those things or upset with the people, because he had equal vision, right? Whatever I'm due, I'm going to get it, right? I have nobody to blame. Whatever I'm due, I only get whatever I'm due. I'll not get anything more or anything less. So such a person has no enemies, no Ajat Sitru, right? Because he has no complaints with anybody. Liberated self-realized soul can see everything and everyone equally. For example, he sees a gold and pebble equally. Why? Because he sees that I can use gold in the service of God. I can use pebble in construction of temple for the God. So in this way, he sees both have equal potency in serving God. Right? So like that, he does not differentiate between people or events or things in life. Yeah, bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature. So he sees that bodies are just productions of different modes of material nature. For example, one may see a very handsome looking movie actor, right? If in today's times, people are fascinated by that. But a spiritually minded person, he would not be so fascinated. Why? Because, by his good karma in this life, he had a good, very attractive face. But maybe in the next life, he may become an animal. Who knows? He may become a dog. So this is just a temporary thing for this one lifetime. So what is there so much to feel great about, right? One may be fascinated by a rich person, a person who is a millionaire or a billionaire, for example. But a spiritual minded person doesn't really see that way, because he sees that this person is also suffering in this world, right? What is the point if I am in a jail which has iron bars versus gold bars? A person who is a rich person, he is also stuck in the middle world, but he is materially rich. Like, it's like a first class person prison versus second class prison. We are in a second class prison, for example, and a rich person is in a first class prison, but ultimately he's in a prison. That is the thing. So a self-realized soul sees like that. What does he compare with? He compares with a self-realized person. So he wants to emulate a self-realized person instead. It doesn't matter whether he's a low born, high born, but his mind is fixed in spiritual life. So what is the point in moving from a second class jail to first class jail? Instead, he focuses his time, energy in actually becoming a liberated soul. He gets inspired by the advanced souls instead, right? A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this. Okay. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity. For the individual soul is present only in the particular body, whereas Paramatma is present in each and every body. Right? So we said Atma and Paramatma exist in the body, but their capacities and capabilities are quite different. Atma knows only within the everything that happens within the body. If I pinch you somewhere on your leg, you feel the pain. Somewhere on the head, you feel the pain, because your perception of your consciousness is only spread within the body. But Paramatma, he exists in your body, in everybody, everywhere, right? So his level of perception is complete. It's way above what the soul can perceive. Yeah, because he's present, Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and super soul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. They're both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all bodies. The super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. That's the difference between the Jiva and Paramatma. Ihaiva tayajita sargo yesham samye stitam mana nirdosham him samam brahma tasmad brahmani te stita. Harsha Dinesh Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
If one's mind is fully established in sameness and equanimity, such a person has already conquered the condition of birth and death. So for such a person, there is no need for another birth. Why people take birth in this world? Anybody want to guess why people take birth?
To fulfill the desires.
Yes.
For a chance to attain
God, I mean, go back to Godhead.
Now, that is an opportunity there. Every birth is an opportunity, but
Mhm.
but we are forced to take birth in this world.
To burn our karma.
Yeah, because of our past sanchit karma. Sanchit karma is the totality of karma. It could be from past 1 life, 100 life, or million lives. How many our lives that we have existed in this material world? That sanchit karma is the cause of our repeated existence in the material world. We are forced by our karma to take various forms of life in this world. And in most of these forms, most of the species of life, there is very little opportunity to actually advance spiritually. Human body is like a junction, right? You know, junction. You are going in a train, you sometimes reach certain junctions. Junction is a place where you can take several directions. You can go straight, you can go back, you can go left or right, anywhere. So human form of life is a great opportunity actually. Not everybody is a great opportunity, but specifically human body is a great opportunity. When one takes the human form of life, he has an opportunity to liberate himself completely from the material existence. Escape path. There is a escape path available in human form of life. And so here we are talking about vision of a self-realized soul. Ones whose mind is established in sameness and equanimity. Sameness and equanimity means the dualities that we experience in the world, right? Happiness and distress, pleasure, pain, heat and cold, all these dualities that we experience. One whose mind is fixed in God, one who is always in touch with super soul, for such a person, these things do not disturb, right? When you are at the foothill of a mountain that is, for example, erupting, you will be so anxious, right? Because the lava would come on you, or the trees would break upon you, or the rocks would fall upon you. But if suppose you are raised in an airplane to a height that is much higher than the erupting volcano, you are not disturbed, because you have raised to such a high level that you cannot be disturbed by the dualities that are existing at the bottom of the surface. So similarly, one who is advanced spiritually, highly advanced, what is the, I keep saying the advanced word quite frequently. What does it mean by advanced? It means such a person is always in touch with the super consciousness or Krishna consciousness. He is always mindful. He is, like in the other verse he said, he has fixed faith. So his mind intelligence always is filled with Krishna consciousness. So he can see everything in that right vision. He can see in relationship with God, everything that happens in his life. So such a person whose mind is clearly fixed up, right? Such a person has conquered the conditions of birth and death. He doesn't need to actually come back to this world again, because with that knowledge, with practice, he burns off all the karma that he has accumulated over many lifetimes in one human form of life. One has the capacity and the power to burn off all the karmas of all of his existence in the middle existence. That is the power of human form of life. So one who is fixed up like that, one who is ultimately able to achieve such kind of equanimous mind, right? Like the verse that we discussed previous to this, right? The humble says, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or a dog eater, outcast, sees with equal vision. Similarly, such a person, because he is established in sameness and equanimity, he achieves, he conquers the conditions of birth and death. He will not need to take another birth in the material existence. He will go back to the spiritual realm after the current existence. Yeah. So equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is a sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. Such a person will not take birth again. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of the self, he is liberated from the conditions of life, conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. Okay? The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Yeah. So, such a person's symptoms are further described in the next verse. Na prahrashyet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhi asammudho, brahmavid brahmani sthita. Srijit Prabhu? Oh, Mataji, I think, yeah. Srijit. Mataji, can you read? Okay. Srividya. Yeah, go ahead. You can read Srividya.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant means such a person, he understands sometimes there will be positive things that come in life, sometimes there will be negative things in this, that come in life. Why those things come, even for self-realized soul? Because that is the nature of the middle world. What can you expect in a jail, right? There will be always constant sorrowness and the misery. So there is no surprise when you are in a place. If you go to bar, you only see wine. I mean, you can't expect a temple there. So that is the nature of the middle world. And a person who is not disturbed by such dualities that keep coming, like sometimes pleasant, sometimes unpleasant experiences, who is self-intelligent and who is unbewildered, right? And who knows the signs of God is already situated in transcendence. Right? The person who does not get disturbed by the pleasant or unpleasant experiences of this world, because he is constantly in touch with God. He is completely satisfied. I heard the story of Mirabai when she was, very old. She had a boil on her leg, I think. She had a boil, and the boil is very painful. And she would not express her pain because she's always in touch with Krishna through her devotion. And people would, see with material vision, right? So they would ask, how come, if you are so loving to God, why such a boil came on you, like that? But she has no complaint at all. So what do we learn from such experiences? So those examples are set so that when we see such people, we can get to understand how to actually face difficulties in life. Even same with Pandavas. They had to go through so many challenges. Why? In spite of being in constant touch with Krishna personally, why they had to go through so many challenges, one may ask. The answer is very simple. Those are people who were setting the examples on how to be Krishna conscious in all the challenges, right? So to show us good examples like that, Krishna orchestrates when he brings his own devotees and performs the pastimes in this world. So basically, one who does not get disturbed by both unpleasant and pleasant experiences, who accepts whatever comes as his own karma, is not bewildered. He just accept. If you go through emotions, you actually just accumulate karma for that. But unfortunately, we are not there yet. Over time, we'll get there. But that requires us to constant study, meditation, and practice of yoga. So that is all required for us to get to that kind of state. So these are all, these are all things that people have already gone through. Right? People have already came to this state of mind in the past, several thousands of examples, and we can all get there. It's not impractical. It is completely doable even in this current age and time. So this knowledge is shared so that we get to understand what it means to be a self-realized soul. How does he take these things? Then that becomes an inspiration for us to actually seriously pursue. Right? Unless we know what it is like, it is very difficult to conceive and seriously develop faith and practice. So these knowledge is given so that we can see what is our what is our ultimate goal. Where can we stand by what we are doing, by daily chanting, by daily reading Gita or hearing classes. Where do I stand? What is the potential that I can achieve? So we can understand all those aspects when we read and hear these messages. Bahya sarse ashaktatma vindati atmani yat sukam sabbrahma yoga yuktatma sukam akshayam asnute. Sudha Gulkarniya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
Now we're talking about the pleasure of such a person. So such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure. As I discussed, we can derive so much happiness in just eating a nice sweet that we like to eat, right? And how is that happiness experienced? Senses get in touch with sense objects, right? Tongue is the sense, and that gets in touch with sense object, which is the gulab jamun or ice cream, whatever you like. And immediately there is experience of pleasure. So similarly, when the jiva gets in touch with the super soul, right? Yoga means the connection, when the connection happens, right? And that is not a physical connection. It is your constant meditation on that. You are able to clearly, clearly connect with God, right? In that trance. So such a person enjoys the pleasure within. He is so happy within the heart. His heart just pumps in the Krishna consciousness because he constantly thinks of the great qualities of God, right? How he is Bhaktavatsala, how he is, Another Rakshaka. He has so many wonderful qualities. Lord, how he has become the driver of his own, his own devotee, like Arjuna. Why does Krishna have to become a driver, right? He can just be anywhere and just, bless him, right? Why does he have to go down to such a level? So that shows his udarta, his, mercy and his love for his devotees. And similarly, so why does he have to, why he has to show so much love for his childhood friend Sudama, who is a poor Brahmana who did not have anything, while he was the ruler of Dwarka, right? Krishna. He brings him and makes him sit in his own Simhasana and washes his feet, his friend's feet. Why does he have to do? Lord have, so those are the characteristics of Lord. When we just meditate on those characteristics, we understand how loving is Lord, right? So then that the soul connects with the super soul in that by looking at those qualities of the Lord. And such a person experiences unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the supreme because his mind is totally focused on the absolute truth, right? the qualities of absolute truth. Just like when you meditate on gulab jamun, you get immediately your tongue waters because immediately feel that happiness. So similarly, a person who is fixed up in yoga, he actually connects with the supreme through his qualities or through his name, fame, whatever. And then immediately the heart is filled with so much joy and happiness. For example, in the bodily consciousness, when we are not aware of the spiritual nature of ourselves, in the bodily consciousness, we are always constantly attracted to material things, right? We only look for short-term happiness, right? That's how we always see. For example, if you show a child one chocolate, one 5-star chocolate, and a $100 note, and ask them pick one of them, what do they pick? Anybody?
Chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate. Why? Immediate pleasure, right? They don't see the value of $100 note. But if an adult picks up, what do they pick? They pick $100 because there are 100 chocolates in it, right? So that is called Shreyas. Preyas means immediate pleasure. Because the materialistic person who does not have any knowledge of the soul, he hankers after material things of this world. Because it's like 5-star chocolate. He sees, he can only perceive happiness in these things of the world. But for a humble sage, he develops spiritual consciousness and he connects with the absolute truth and he experiences much unlimited joy. Why would such a person, to him, what does it mean to actually enjoy the lower things of the material world? The sense pleasures that this material world offers. They are nothing. When you get $100 note, why do you even care for the chocolate? There are 100 chocolates in that $100 note. So that's the long-term vision, Shreyas. Yeah. So Sri Yamunacharya, a great devotee of Krishna consciousness, says this: Yadavadi mamacheta Krishna padaravinde navanvarasa dhami udayatam rantumasit tadavadi bhakt nari sangame smaryamani bhavarti mukham vikara sustu nistivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. In the material world, the happiness that is, at least at the physical senses level, is sex pleasure, right? Everybody thinks that's the highest pleasure they can experience in life. But Yamunacharya was actually a great king before he became Yamunacharya, about 1200 years ago. He was senior to Sri Ramanujacharya, who established Vishishtadvaita in the same Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya. He comes in Sri Sampradaya, sorry. So Yamunacharya, he was a great king. So as a king, he had the opportunity to actually enjoy all the things of this world, especially having many wives and all. But once he became a great devotee, towards his older age, he was totally fixed in Krishna consciousness. He became a perfect devotee of the Krishna. At that time, he experiences constant connection with Krishna and experiences ever new pleasure, because that is the nature of being one being fully Krishna conscious. And at that, with that consciousness, he says, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with distaste. For a person who is so fixed up in Krishna consciousness or spiritual happiness, anything of the mundane material world, it doesn't come any close to it. So he says it, the sex pleasure is like is like something worthy of spit. And my lips curl with distaste. So that's how he compares the highest happiness of middle world to the happiness derived in spiritual world, spiritual life. As one advances, right? A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasures altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and a materialist cannot work at all without that motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test in spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go in together. The Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. Yeah, so very nice verse. So we will discuss further about the characteristics of a liberated soul in the next session from verse 22 onwards. Any questions so far on what we discussed in this verse or the Brahmana verse? Any of these 4 verses we discussed today? It's a very nice verse.
Prabhuji, I do have one question. You mentioned that everything, whatever we do, needs Bhagwan approval. So I'm just wondering, if somebody is trying to do something bad, why God is approving those kind of effort?
Yeah, because Lord respects the free will of the jiva. For example, you have a son, Prabhu? Do you have a son?
Yes, I do.
Okay. When he was, say, 4-year-old, okay, or 5-year-old, suppose he wants to go to mommy's kitchen and cut the vegetable. Okay. You tell him, hey, don't cut it. You may cut your finger. But he says, no, I want to cut it. What do? You allow him sometimes, right? So it is like, even though Lord is our Father, he would not stop our free will, because that is the prerogative of the jiva. Even when Pandavas and Kauravas, there was a decision that war is inevitable because there is no way we can stop this war. As a last resort, Lord Krishna himself goes to assembly of Duryodhana and says, hey Duryodhana, just give one village to each of these Pandavas. They will not even, because they are Kshatriyas. They cannot do, a mercantile job, or they cannot work like a Sudra. They are sons of kings. And as a Kshatriya, the primary duties they can offer, they can do is being the ruler. Just give them small villages, just 5 of them, and they won't come to you. They will just rule and be happy. You rule over the country. Just let this war not happen. You know what Duryodhana says? No, I wouldn't give them the land enough to fit the needle of the eye of the needle. That's what he says. Even Lord himself that is the decision Lord himself, he couldn't do. I mean, he just, okay, that is what you want, just do it. That's it. In fact, by the words of Lord Krishna, some of the brothers were convinced. One of them is Suyodhana, the third or fourth brother of Duryodhana. He says, actually, what Lord Krishna is saying is correct. What is the point of this war? They're our brothers, we should give. And Duryodhana becomes quite upset with with a few of these brothers. He says, Lord is now, he doesn't accept Krishna as Lord, first of all. So he says, Krishna came and is now totally disturbing all my plans. I cannot let this happen. So what he does, he tries to arrest Krishna. Imagine somebody came as a Sandidut, and this guy mercilessly tries to arrest Krishna. You know what happens at the time? Lord Krishna just projects himself and shows his universal form. All of a sudden, there is this huge tumultuous sound, and Lord, all these soldiers, they try to run to Krishna. He already pre-arranged all of this in the assembly. Like all these powerful soldiers, they're waiting at the corner to quickly attack Krishna and arrest him. And all these people just rush. And Lord Krishna immediately just expands himself into a huge form, Vishnu form. All of them just get shocked. And they all run back. And Duryodhana realizes his mistake. Even after seeing that, he goes back in the night. In his, before sleeping, he just thinks about what happened that day. This Krishna is, he has some mystic powers. He does all this jadoo and just gets away with everything he does. He thinks like that. He doesn't accept Krishna as God even at that time, after seeing his universal form also. Even before Arjuna sees this form. So people are bent like that. What can we do? I mean, it's people have desired that way. And the thing is, if suppose you let the child do whatever he wants to do, what he does, he cuts the vegetable. Maybe he'll try to cut without cutting his finger. At one point, something happens. He cuts his finger. And what happens then? He learns the lesson by the act of cutting the vegetable in the wrong way. Next time, either he will not dare cut the vegetable with chalk, or he will learn the way to do it right? So one of these lessons, he had to go through that experience. So in this way, even though Lord very well knows what is right, what is wrong, and what is best thing that we should do, but he would let the individual's free will take over and let that happen. And we learn through that experience. You get that, Prabhu? Anil Prabhu? Very good question.
Yeah, thanks, Prabhu. One more question, Prabhu.
Yes.
Do you feel that at any point of time he interfered in all these things? For me, it looks like everything is already yes for us, that whatever we desired, we can do it. It is approval already as a default. But at any circumstances, we feel that there is a no there.
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. Thank you for asking that. So, for a regular, normal karmi, or a person who does not, take shelter of God at all, everything is driven by his past karma. 100%. There is no escape. He acquires wealth accordingly. He acquires pleasure accordingly. He acquires pain accordingly. He acquires disease accordingly. He acquires everything according to past karma. But for a person who is practicing spiritual life and trying to acquire spiritual knowledge, like Bhagavad Gita, studying Bhagavad Gita and chanting or practicing meditation, it doesn't work like that. God would interfere. That is the reason, if you show your palm to any, a very, not just palm, go to any Jyotishalaya and try to show your, what's coming up in your life. For a devotee or a person who is, practicing spiritual life, whatever they say doesn't happen 100%, because Lord would interfere in the life of a devotee, right? So for a spiritual inclined person, Lord would interfere, and it is according to the surrender. If you are surrendered 90%, 90% is the part to which God interferes in your life. Just like when Draupadi gave up everything, all her efforts, immediately Lord came and protected, right? You may not see the form of Lord in Kali Yuga, he would not appear in direct form like that, but you would see his interference in your life. There is always, so for a person who is spiritually inclined or who is on the spiritual path, you will still face difficulties in life, but it is mentioned that suppose you have to cut your finger, instead you would cut your nail. There will be, suppose according to your past karma, you have to lose your job. Right? Instead of that, what happens as a token is you may get a demotion, or you may not get any raise this year, something like that. You still go through some pain. You may wonder, oh, I'm serving Lord so much, why I didn't get even promotion? But understand that what you got is already a reduced karma for you. So he would help, because why he has to help actually? Because we are actually on the spiritual path and we are on the right path. Just like a child who is trying to learn from his mistakes, father has to support him a little bit, because that would make his path clear and he can come out of the difficulties and challenges of his life faster. So that is with that spirit. What if there is a child who is adamant, who doesn't listen to father anywhere? What can father do? What can you do? I mean, if you have a child who doesn't listen to you at all, he does whatever you say. Hey, apply for this college, he applies for some other college. You tell him to go to this college, he goes to that college. He does whatever he wants. What can you do as a father, right? You only can wish. I mean, you can't completely stop doing, control his life completely, right? You can to certain level, but it doesn't work out like that. So similarly, it's the same. So Lord would interfere as our surrender increases. Is that clear, Prabhu?
Yeah, thanks, Prabhu.
Yes.
Now I know. Yeah, my confusion got clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yes.
In Ramayana and Mahabharata and all, everything seems to be like the caste system, right? So seems like it's based on birth only, like all the king's sons are kings only, and like even Karna had to face a lot of difficulties in his life because of that. And even when Arjuna wants to uh, like go as a saint and all, Krishna stops him and he says Kshatriya should not go. And even Yudhishthira is totally inclined, his mind is so, he seems to be like not a Kshatriya, but he's also becoming a king. So yes, except Drona, nobody changed their birth duty and all that. So just why this is happening? So looks like as if it's due to birth only and not due to the nature.
Oh, okay. Actually, up until Kali Yuga, people born in a family used to have those qualities, and they were trained accordingly as well. Like for example, all the Pandavas were trained by Dronacharya, right, to become Kshatriyas. And so people accepted, the people of the world actually wanted those people only to rule. That was the way. Even Dharmaraja, he was actually, he was foster child of Yamaraj. He was a great king actually. You were saying he's not. He's actually, he has the perfect qualities of a great king. That is the reason he is supposed to be the ultimate ruler of the world. So, and there are cases where people have turned from being, there was a king called Veena in the Vedic times. who was the son of a great king, but he had very low qualities. So the Brahmanas actually dethroned the king in the Vedic times. So there are times when a wrong ruler was chosen, and they were dethroned, because ultimately people would make sure the right king is at the top level. Not people, especially Brahminical people who were actually having that power, right? In those ages, Brahmanas were really, they were performing spiritual practices very sincerely. Through their words, through their prayers, they would start a fire, yajna, right? So that is the power of Brahmanas. When they perform yajna, at the end, ultimately there should be a result, like the Vishnu appearance or something like that, or a pot appearance or something would happen. So that proves that actually yajna was successful. So Brahmanas were really like Brahmanas, and Kshatriyas were really like Kshatriyas. If Kshatriyas are not properly doing, Brahmanas have the potency and power to actually, through mantras, they can actually get the king out of the throne. So it's like that. I mean, if they can, the son of a king can establish him as the king, but ultimately, if he's not able to rule, he would be dethroned. He would be shown the door. Just like just like in a corporate culture, right? If you pick up somebody as a vice president, but he is not able to handle the role well, not able to provide the right vision, he will not be in that role for long. It's the same. I mean, ultimately, people, there is right check and balance system even in those days that would make sure. In today's time, what is there? Every 5 years there is an election. If somebody is not fit to be a president or something, he would be dethroned. In those days, it is the Brahmanas who were really virtuous, and they had this Brahma Tejas, and they were able to actually see who is the right person to rule, and they would bestow him all the powers to actually rule and bless him. And there was such perfect balance system, between all the varnas. Everybody was satisfied executing their own varna, right, and ashramas. So in that way, when everybody follows their own rules and systems properly, they are satisfied. No, Sudra want to become a Kshatriya or something like that. Karna's story is different. I mean, Karna, many people think, Karna, there is a lot of injustice happened to Karna, but actually it is not. He was, what do you call it? No. He is a person who wanted, he's just on the side of Duryodhana for his own pride and benefit.
Especially when he goes to study, he was cursed by his teacher, and then Draupadi refuses to marry him even before he become friend with
All of
Duryodhana.
those things happened because, who is Karna? We should know the history of Karna. The Karna, in his previous life, he's a demon, actually. He's a demon, but he has only one good quality, which is to donate. Okay. So next life, he got the opportunity to be born in a great family, and so many good things have happened. He actually, after that, he really advanced spiritually. So he was a demon in his past life. He had done a lot of bad things in his past life. But in this life, he was very close to being a great king, but he was not, because he still have those certain negative qualities. For example, when Draupadi is being disrobed, he could have stopped it. Why he didn't do it? He was there sitting there. He was actually calling ill names, and he was siding with Duryodhana, who is the wrong person there. Actually, there is one brother of Duryodhana who didn't like this whole thing. He was trying to stop, but he was stopped by Karna. Imagine. So he is not, he may have certain good qualities, but by his past life, or by his standards of certain actions that he did, he is not really a great guy. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? many people have soft side for Karna. Actually, when I studied Mahabharata, then I realized actually, we need to study these scriptures from, authoritative sources. When we read there, from there, and certain movies show, Danavir, Surya Karna, like that, movies are not the way to judge who is what. You have to have have to study authentic scriptures given by great acharyas to actually understand their position. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Sweta Mataji, Varlakshmi Mataji, Sudha Mataji, any questions?
No problem.
Okay. Thank you all then. We'll again meet next week. Hare Krishna. Oh, by the way, one quick thing. Shubhavilash Prabhu, he is author of Ramayana classes, Ramayana books, very famous in India. So he is conducting a Ramayana course on Friday evenings, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's a certificate course, end of 18 weeks. Will be certified. Okay, if you are interested, and it's a certification from Mumbai University and Bhaktivedanta Vidyapit. If you are interested in studying Ramayana, it's both for children as well as adults. Everybody can participate, and it's a 1 hour class, and 15 minutes discussion, and there will be some quizzes as well. Very simple quizzes just based on the classes. But you will learn entire Ramayana from this very famous, author of Ramayana series in India. His book was national bestseller, Ramayana book, and he's a prolific author. He wrote many books. He's my friend, actually, my roommate as well. Like when I was, in 20s. If you want to learn, I'll share the details in our group. You can join. Okay, we'll start in like a month or so. It will be 1 hour class on Friday evenings. You can join. You can have your children join, or you both can join. You can think about it. Okay, I'll share the details. But at least you will learn Ramayana from an authentic source. He's a very good speaker and a teacher. Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
So is there a farm feast tomorrow?
Oh, no farm feast. No. Looks like there is a sudden rise in cases now.
Yes, I thought so.
Unfortunately, they had to stop farm feast for some time. Even we were planning for a Rath Yatra in a month from now. Even that was, that was also not going to happen because of this.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Thank you.